Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Yes! Hello, everyone, and welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV's Once Upon a Time After Show. I'm your host, Tiona Hobson. You can follow me on Twitter at the Tiona Hobson. And joining me tonight, I have the beautiful Roxy Striar.
Hi, guys. You can follow me everywhere at Roxy Striar.
And Marisa Serafini.
Hello, everyone. You can follow me on Twitter at Serafini TV.
And we are your awesome panel that you guys love, and we love you guys, and thanks for tuning in. And this is Season 5, Episode 7, Nimue.
Nimue, Nimue, Nimue.
Roxy and I have been singing that the whole hour of watching the show, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely...
They have.
It's going to be stuck in your head now. Just like it's stuck in ours. Okay, so we were talking about this a little bit off camera. How did you guys feel about tonight's episode?
I was saying off camera, it was frustrating because I think as audience members, we knew where it was leading to. And it's that slow build-up that was predictable in a way, but still fun to watch, but frustrating, especially with Zelena. Like, so many different aspects of this episode was just frustrating.
I agree. I can't even exactly put my finger on why I felt so all over the place tonight. I think it's because we went from the 1,000 years to 200 years to some years to today,
like 2 weeks ago,
right? And and the introduction of Nimue and all of the stuff going on there. I really feel like we were jumping around quite a bit, and the only thing to kind of keep my mind straight, I'm like, okay, what are they wearing here? And now I know what it's a little difficult sometimes to do that back and forth, but I do feel like we are moving along in our story, and I appreciate that.
Okay. I appreciate your thoughts.
They're wearing the same outfits that when they poofed back to Camelot in episode 1. So,
but have they changed since they've been in Camelot? Because I feel like back in that day, you had one outfit. Maybe you bathed once a week or once a month.
Maybe.
Like, has anyone bathed?
Once a month?
I haven't seen them change clothes.
These are people who used to pee in the corner of the rooms with their clothes on. I don't even know if they ever bathed. I don't know if that's a thing.
Okay, we'll go with that.
It's questionable.
Well, let's get into the past a little bit. Let's talk about Merlin and Nimue. We learn a lot about Merlin in this episode. We start out and we see him and another guy escaping from what I assume is some sort of slavery because their hands were tied and they're in the middle of a desert, and they come across this chalice or this giant cup, and they're referring to it as a gift from the gods. And his partner tries to grab onto it and disappears into dust.
Fool, you knew that was going to happen. It's like, hello, that's a holy grail.
Oh, Marissa's the smart one, because did you put together that it was the holy grail right away?
I have it in my notes.
Of course I did, but
grail?
yes, definitely. But 1,000 years ago, I wouldn't have put together that was the holy grail, because I wouldn't have known that there was such thing as the holy grail if Monty Python had never come out. So, this whole thing was strange to me, because if I watched my partner in crime go and touch this thing and turn to dust, I would not touch it. That's the dumbest thing you could do. But little do I know, he asks the gods, they give him permission, and all of a sudden he's frickin' immortal, so...
Well, okay, first of all, it was like the first dude was just a fool for just being greedy and not thinking straight and assuming that he could just drink the water.
If you saw a cup of water in the desert, you wouldn't try to drink it. I wouldn't take it from my partner. I'd split it with them, but I would
questionable why it was there.
Why in the middle of all this sand is there
Good
randomly
point.
a cup of water?
Valid.
That's where my thoughts would be.
Yeah.
Like, this is some kind of trap. It's poison. I'm going to die. My mom told me, if something's sticking out like a sore thumb, maybe you should avoid it. So I probably wouldn't have gone near it.
There could be some roofies in that, for sure.
There could be roofies. 1,000 years ago, there was definitely some roofies going on.
Okay.
Marissa's like, I'm going to stay away from that one. I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah, you're right. There could be poison or other stuff in there.
You just never know.
I'm thinking when he says, I'm either going to die or I'm going to drink it, I guess, but...
Kind of the desperation, because if he gets caught, he dies. If he drinks this, he could die. Die now or die later. Which one do you go for?
I think I wouldn't have touched it. I think I would have thought that I was going to burst into flames or dust or whatever it is.
Well, luckily...
I think it just shows Merlin's character, that he acted out of goodness first, not out of selfishness.
Well, absolutely. Tonight's episode was all about that.
Yeah. And it kind of went to show later on when you think of how the sword was in the stone and how only someone who was pure of heart and deserving of it could actually pull the sword from the stone. It's kind of the same thing with this chalice. Only someone who is worthy of drinking from the Holy Grail was able to.
Yes.
Yeah. So that happens. And then we go have another flashback of 200 years ago where we see Merlin is using his magic to help people in this village. And then there's this random girl who comes in who we later find out is Nimue.
She was so adorable.
So gorgeous.
Yeah, she just, one of those smiles that you're like, okay, I trust you. Which I guess is our mistake.
Well, I mean, the first thing that is said about her, because the apprentice is with Merlin at this point, and the apprentice is like, you don't know why she's here? You know things about everyone. And even Merlin's like, I don't know about you. I can't see your future, which kind of struck me as...
Star Wars
and...
The dark side clouds the future.
Don't go to the dark side. Choose the light. That's what they kept making so many Star Wars
So many Star Wars
references. It was so good.
I love it.
Yeah, me too. But honestly, when she came here, the fact that he couldn't see her future and he couldn't tell whether she would be back or what was happening, red flags going off. I know that Marisa had red flags even before that, but that's when, for me, I was like, uh-oh, something's up with this girl. Why can't he see that?
Well, because he couldn't see her future.
Right.
Future is hard to see.
Future is hard
it's
to
like
see.
Straight from Star Wars.
So her village was ransacked by this guy. Was his name Vortigern?
Vortigern.
Okay, because I got scared that I wrote it down wrong. It was actually Mortigan and not Vortigern.
Vortigern.
Okay, so Vortigern, who wears this mask that we've seen this mask before, so it's like clearly this mask is going to tie into what we already know, has gone through her village, burned it all down, killed everyone. She escaped, and all she has with her are these flower seeds for the middle mix.
The way she phrased it, though, was very strange. What is she after? Revenge.
She was always after revenge, and it always was just one of those things that's kind of looming about her of, you know, if she got the chance to take revenge on this guy, she definitely would. And what kind of person does that make you? Even before the darkness and power and before drinking from the Holy Grail and all that.
Yeah, I mean, the way they established her character, he's saying the word darkness, and then later on, not to jump too far ahead, strike him down. It's like all these negative connotations with her. It's a darker aspect. She has a dark side.
Right. Anytime there was a glimpse of darkness or light, she would always kind of go towards that darkness. We saw it from the first second we met her, even though she is such an endearing character.
Yeah, and when Merlin comes to tell her the truth finally when he wants to propose to her and tells her that he wants to spend the rest of his life with this girl and he can't because he drank from the Holy Grail, so he's immortal and he doesn't want to watch her grow old and die. She's like, well, why don't you just give me the Holy Grail and I'll drink from it too? Instead of Merlin's thinking of, how can I undo my immortality so that I can live my days with you in a better way?
I have to say, though, and maybe this says something about me, but I would have thought the same thing that she did here. I would have thought, okay, how can I become like you? That would have been my first thought process, as opposed to how can you return to being like me? I think that's kind of human instinct. I think it's a little natural. And then once he explained it, I thought she would let it go, but clearly she didn't.
But do you think that it's something Merlin being so wise that he kind of thought of when she suggested, why don't I become immortal like you? Him thinking, well, I've got a control of my powers and I'm not using it for darkness ever. Could he see that she might possibly use it towards darkness? And
I don't think he saw that, because I think if he saw that, then things would have turned out differently than they did.
Well, maybe he didn't see it, but you know how you can have a gut feeling about a person?
Right.
And just...
I think he was naive to her.
Okay. Marisa?
Well, I think Nimue is just... her actions and wanting to also share this immortality, it wasn't for good reasons. It was more like, share the power. Because you're powerful, you're immortal, I want to be that too. I want to live with you forever. I didn't believe that. It was just her mentality and going into it and why she wanted to be immortal. It wasn't for good reasons. It was more for selfish reasons.
I agree with that too. Thank you, Marissa. You're so wise. So he comes up with this plan to make the cup into a sword so that he can slash away the darkness or the immortality in him.
Why was he so positive that this would work?
How was this? Was he literally going to take a sword and have someone slice his body to cut him? What if that
Stab
didn't
him
work?
in the heart. I don't know. I just can't believe that he was like, this is the plan. Yes, it's going to work. All of these things that he keeps doing, I'm like, you're the first person to ever do these things. How are you so sure? I guess because he is magic and he has that sense. But if he has that sense, then why can't he see what's going on with Nimue? Well, in the chat earlier, somebody said he's blinded by love. I guess that could be it.
Love is the darkest magic ever.
True, and I don't think he was really expecting anyone to be as truly dark to actually use the sword to kill him. To strike him down.
Well, I mean, he gets kind of a reality check because eventually they do go off on this quest to forge this cup into the sword, and they have to go to where the Prometheus had his last standoff, and there's a flame there that they have to use to do this, and on their way they realize that Vortigern is following them.
Right.
Because we find out that he was actually looking for the Holy Grail.
I actually
I do have to interject. Prometheus, another Greek god,
Yes.
so more opportunities for Greek mythology. Yes, I love it so much.
I think Marissa's dream is coming true. We definitely are going there.
Yeah.
We are on our
Happy.
way there right now.
So happy.
And if they don't take it there right now, then
then
Marissa
I'm gonna be so mad.
she might go all Vortigern on somebody.
We'll get there. I believe it.
I would.
I have to say that I really am loving this storyline, though. I thought it was fascinating how they explained why Excalibur was in those two pieces and what was going on, and just how we got that information fed to us from this show. I love that first we see that the sword's pulled out and it's only half of a sword, and we're trying to put the pieces together. This made a lot of sense. And as silly as it sounds, I love when TV makes sense.
Right, and I love how they took that creative spin on the Arthurian legends, going from the Holy Grail to the Excalibur, using the same thing as one, whereas in the actual story it's two completely different things.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
giving us the story that Merlin is actually the one who created Excalibur, and that how he created the dagger as well, and the spell that kind of binds the dagger to the Dark One. It's like we got a lot of answers in tonight's episodes
Exactly.
about how the origins of things.
It makes sense though. In the Once lore, it makes sense like how it would all tie together, which is very creative.
Yeah. So Nimue is not a good person, we find out. She
kind of is.
She is. Okay, so here's the thing. I
you think so?
understand her dilemma here because she's drank from the Holy Grail. Merlin thinks that she's dead. She comes back alive. She pulls out Vortigern's heart. And this is the moment of the true test. It's like, hey, are you going to kill him and embrace some darkness in your life? Or are you going to spare him his life and let him live? I can see where the dilemma is. He took everything away from her. Her family, her whole village, her friends, her house, her loved ones. But on the other side of things, should she have let him
I don't know if that
move
was
on?
the true test, though. I feel like the true test was before that, when she drank from the Holy Grail. And she did that without his permission and behind his back. And yes, if she hadn't done that, she would be dead, absolutely. But I feel like that's when she chose to go dark. I don't believe that she could have done that and then spared this man's life. Once she already started going down that path, I just sensed the darkness in her.
And did she drink from the Holy Grail before he said that Vortigern was nearby? I couldn't remember if his line about that came before he started doing the spell to see.
Well, I think they always knew that there was a possibility
he was because my thing is also
he said Vortigern was also searching for the Grail, and then later on, maybe like 5 minutes later, we saw that she drank illegally from the cup.
Because the other question that's raised is, was she ever going to tell Merlin? Because Merlin was about to end his immortality, thinking that she also was immortal.
Right. I'm just surprised she didn't go poof like the first dude. For drinking out of the cup without permission properly. I mean, maybe because the Holy Grail is now tied to Merlin, it works differently, but I'm just surprised she didn't go poof too.
Or maybe because she's not totally evil.
Maybe.
I'm not sure, but the strangest part about all of this to me was what Emma said afterwards, which was that she still sensed that she loved him, which was baffling.
But we've seen that before with Rumpelstiltskin. Even though he was the dark one, he was still in love with Belle. And
I'm not surprised that she felt that way. I'm surprised that Emma would choose to say that. Why'd you just leave it be. Leave it be, Emma.
I mean, because she also knows that Merlin's not over her. Merlin said, I thought about you every day. Mm-hmm. And that was, what, at least 200 years ago?
Is that supposed to make him feel better? It wouldn't make me feel better.
There's hope that somewhere in there is still the woman that he loved and not the monster that she became.
Maybe.
That's
Quite
poetic.
Possibly.
That's poetic right there.
It's very poetic.
But so she becomes the dark one, and then this is when we see her strike where the fire was, and that's what broke the sword and separated them. I was a little confused of how that took away the fire, though.
I was a little confused on how her striking broke the sword.
Well, she put it against concrete.
I think it was just her trying to destroy the thing that now can
Oh, that's right.
just take down immortality, I guess you can say.
Yeah, because she didn't want anyone to be able to
Yeah,
do
because
that.
she's now also tied to the chalice too, just like Merlin. So, in a way, that sword could destroy her too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whoa!
But that's what we see. I mean,
That might go into my projection.
we'll get there at the very end, but this sword can be used for good or for evil.
Mm-hmm.
It can snuff out the light or the dark.
Which was something that was said. We're going to jump ahead a little bit now because we can go into the more recent past with Merlin and Emma and them going after this ember, and how Merlin tells Emma that they have to go on this quest to get the things that they need to merge Excalibur back together, and that they're going to have to come against the very first Dark One who took his love, Nimue, away.
And Marissa's sitting there like, it's Nimue, it's Nimue, it's Nimue.
Yep.
The whole time.
Yep.
And then guess what? She was right. I don't know if you've watched the episode or not, but you probably have. She was right. But one of the things that Nimue says, because Emma kind of has this moment where she has to talk to Nimue in her head.
Well, she has to call the spirits of all the dark ones,
You're talking
all
about
the
when
previous
she's,
ones.
when she's strangling?
And then it turned
Yeah.
out to be Nimue.
Yeah, it turns out to be Nimue, but Nimue says something along the lines, I wrote it down, but I can't see it in my notes, but she said that the sword can be used for more than one purpose. Mm-hmm. And when she said that, my first thought was, oh no, the sword can be used, like maybe there's a twist that Merlin's not telling us, and when she merges them together, it's automatically going to like stab Emma in the stomach and kill her or something like that.
My mind did not go there at all.
Well, when she said that, what were you guys thinking?
To snuff out the dark or the light.
Oh.
Don't
say
forget
to-
that
That
this
was
sword that
too
you
easy.
are creating can be used to kill you also.
I would say to separate the spirits.
To separate the
So,
spirits.
I mean, you can use this Excalibur / the dagger to tether spirits to it. You can also do the exact same thing and reverse it. In reverse order.
Okay.
Separate.
Once again, you guys are smarter than me because my mind went straight to like the bad situation.
You just wanted to see something bad happen
You
to
just
Emma
wanna see
tonight.
I
death.
didn't want anything bad to happen to Emma tonight.
Hold on, can we just discuss Emma's look right now for a second? Because I had to pause the episode. Girl looks like she needs some serious help. Her voice is getting raspier. I know I'm not one to speak, but she sounds like she's like losing it a little bit. She can't do the makeup. Her hair, like she's always going to be the most beautiful, but oh my god, this poor thing. She looks like she's going crazy. Like really, she looks sickly.
She does, but I
think
love it
that's
as
on
a character
purpose.
choice.
of course.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like every day you can see, or every week you see that the darkness is taking a toll on
And
her.
the light is just draining from her.
But then they keep her in these light clothing, and she's still struggling so hard to make the right choices.
Yeah, and there's the whole speech about hope. Is there still hope left? And I believe in her, there is.
I do too.
What did you guys think about that speech that Merlin gave her about whether you could eventually use the darkness for good, and him saying that there hasn't been one yet, but eventually there could be?
I was confused by that conversation because I don't see how that's possible.
I don't either, because it's never happened, but what if she always is the dark one, but she's able to channel that darkness into light somehow?
I hope that she can, but I feel that it would be a constant struggle for her. like it is right now, where she's constantly hearing Rumpelstiltskin in her head, all these voices trying to guide her to take the darkness instead of the lightness, and eventually you get tired of that fight and it takes its toll on you, and eventually you would just go into the darkness instead of the light.
Give into the darkness.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to give into temptation compared to actually having goodwill, and that's self-control over things.
Yeah, like the fight that happened. So Emma calls on Nimue, and Nimue tries to take out Merlin, and then we realize that it's actually Emma who's doing this. And Merlin, the one thing he said from the start of this quest was that it was dangerous because he could either come back alive or he'll die up there because Emma will have embraced the darkness.
It shows how good he is that he was willing to do that.
He was, but is it also that he had given up because he lost Nimue and he's been stuck in a tree for years?
Maybe.
And now it's like, hey,
I don't think he's given up, though. I don't think Merlin's given up.
I think that getting stuck in a tree for years would be reason to give up, but I don't think that he has.
No, I think it slows him down for sure, but not giving up. Because as we know, the way that Once show has established Merlin, he's a good character. And that's what I like. So he always, and I don't think good characters always give up. We always see, the charmings and whatnot. They're essentially good. They're never giving up.
I really like what Big Titan Avatar just said in the chat. Emma playing a game right now where she's actually using it for a whole good purpose, but it has to be accomplished through dark deeds. So right now, when we flash forward to the future,
I actually like that because one of the things I noticed was that
what I've been saying from day one.
When Nimue became the first Dark One, she immediately went into that skin tone of the scaly
Rumpelskin.
Yeah, the Rumpelskin that we've decided to call it.
Can you imagine you go to the dermatologist? You have a case of Rumpelskin.
That would be horrible. But Emma has not done that yet. Even Rumpelstiltskin
she had it on her hand for a second.
She had it for a second on her hand, but she's still, even in present day Storybrooke, she's still not that.
And she's
Rumpelskin.
not green.
She's not green. She's none of those things.
Right, and it makes me question why Nimue turned so green so fast. It makes me think that her character completely gave into evil that fast. Whereas we know Emma's been fighting this whole time.
Yeah, I think it's because she killed that guy.
Yeah.
Well,
I think so too.
Emma has killed someone too, but she's not all green.
That's true.
So I think it's like, if you fight it, then you're not going to turn into scaly Rumpelskin yet.
That's very true. And I love that while this was also happening, you also got the references because you're watching Emma have this conversation with Nimue, and Emma tells her, "What are you doing to him? You love him." And Nimue's answer is, even when you love someone, if they're trying to tell you what you are is wrong and take that away from you, sometimes you have to kill them. And all I could think was, oh my God, Emma and Hook. They're just over here exchanging their love. Their story is very similar.
That went through my head too, T. And I will... of course it did, because we're hookers for life.
Hookers for life.
I won't be able to get out of bed. Like, we can't go there, because I'll lose it. If Emma hurts Hook, we're done. Me and Emma.
You and Emma.
Yeah,
okay.
we're done.
We're done.
Can't be her friend anymore.
I would definitely be devastated if anything were to happen to Hook as well.
Marissa, you're laughing over there, but imagine if Regina did
No,
something to your
I'm
boy.
not. I just love how passionate you guys are. Because if it was Outlaw Queen, I'd be done. Don't even get me
and especially
started.
because right before they left for their quest, Emma and Hook are having this awesome moment where he's giving her the necklace with the ring, and it's not a proposal. Don't worry, don't get freaked out like I almost did.
I just kept thinking one ring to rule them all.
It was a fatty ring, like
This was
On
like,
a chain.
on a chain.
No less.
This was like Star Wars, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, like all the
all of them.
nerdy episodes combined. It was great.
Yes.
Hey, they're not nerdy. They're awesome.
Nerdy in a great way.
Yeah.
Nerdy is awesome.
But his ring is his good luck ring and the reason why he's here today. And Emma reminds him, hey, I'm immortal right now, so nothing's going to happen to me. And his line was, the Dark One is immortal, not Emma. Bring her back to me. It's like, see, that's why he's such a good guy, and he just wants what's best for her. And Emma, I just wanted her when she was choking Merlin. All I could say was, Emma, think of Hook. Think of Hook. Come out of this dark place. And eventually she did come out of the dark place. So
I think it's so funny on this show and on any show like this where the second after Merlin's getting choked, they're cool. Like, if you're Merlin, you're not going to be like, dude, you just choked me. Now he's like, all right, we're good. You didn't kill me, so we're good.
But you do have to realize the progression, that how harder it is to snap Emma out of this. Because the first time you saw her almost killing Merida in the first episode of this season, and now this time it took even longer to snap Emma out of it, so it's getting progressively worse.
I loved her deep voice of like, no, what you have, I do not need. She looked like a crazy person, but I was like, yes, you fight off that darkness.
I loved that moment.
That was amazing.
She killed it.
It was like an empowering moment of Emma standing up to the darkness and saying, no, I will not be taken over. What's going on in the chat room?
Her voice got real low. Yeah, it really did.
It got really low. And I was just so proud of her. And I was like, yes, everything we're seeing in the flashbacks shows Emma fighting off this darkness. So it's still going to be interesting to see what happens to get them to Storybrooke, where she's kind of dark, but not really. And I feel like what a lot of people are saying about her not being fully dark and using that as a way to help everyone is true.
I think because she's the savior, that she is the strongest of the dark ones we've had so far, and that she will be the strongest of fighting off the darkness. She'll be able to do it longer, but I don't think anybody can do it forever. So like you're saying, Marissa, it's getting progressively worse, and at some point, it's going to be almost impossible to pull her back.
Yeah, to the point that she can't return.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless maybe something happens with Henry or...
Well, also the difference is that, like, Emma still has hope. Emma still has love surrounding her. She has a whole family there supporting her. So compared to all the other dark ones, from the background stories that we've seen with them, they've had no one else supporting them. So Emma has something different compared to all the other dark ones that would allow the audience to believe that she has a better chance of snapping back to good.
And she has self-worth. Kyra in the chat was just saying that she was like, that one line from Emma, I was never nothing. It was just so epic. Yeah, that was strength. And
she even talks to Merlin when they're walking in the woods. She's like, hey, I've done some dark things and I hurt Henry, and she feels bad about this stuff still. So you can tell that the wheels are still turning and there is hope. And I mean, we forgot to mention
she still
this.
has a conscience.
Yeah.
You know, she can still tell light from good or light from bad.
It's just a matter of,
she knows the difference.
How quickly she can register herself from stopping to hurt these people. One thing we did forget to mention about in the beginning of this episode was we see Emma outside of Granny's making all these dream catchers, which we did see a couple weeks ago that she still has at her house in Storybrooke currently, with everyone's memories of what happened in Camelot. So,
kind of rubbing it in their face, just doing it right outside
just
there.
doing it right there. So we do know that she was making those, and Merlin is the one who had her making all of those. So maybe this is part of a greater plan that her and Merlin had that the rest of the crew wasn't privy to. That's all I can think.
I want one of those above my bed.
Okay. I'll make you one.
A dream catcher?
Yeah. A dream catcher.
I want one of the ones of theirs, though.
Oh.
Like, I want Mary Margaret's or something.
Oh, okay.
So I can look into it. You can do that for me, too?
No.
We'll work on that for you, Roxy.
We'll work on it. Yeah, we'll see what we can
Once
do.
there's help
I
us
always
out.
liked you best, Marissa.
So the rest of the gang, during this time while Emma and Merlin are out on their little quest, they have a job of their own because they need to get the other part of Excalibur back from Arthur so that they can merge these swords.
Yo, Arthur's getting worse and worse every week.
Arthur is a crazy man now.
I put crazy / madman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Turned into, like, he is a butthead.
He is a butthead. He went from, oh, I'm cool King Arthur to, here's a bottle of whatever this potion is that will melt everyone's skin off. It was like acid, but from the Camelot centuries.
And poor Guinevere, she's still under that potion spell dust thing that
I feel
he
so bad
casted
for
on
her.
her.
That poor thing.
She has no power right now. I hope they
idea.
turn her back
You
or
can still
release
see,
her.
in tonight's episode, she kind of had that disgust in her face, but like,
But she couldn't do anything about it.
She can't do anything.
Oh, it's so bad.
It was so sad. So everyone's at Granny's trying to figure out how to break into the castle to get the sword out, and everyone's ideas are stupid in the eyes of Zelena, who we haven't had much for her to do during this time in Camelot because she hasn't been able to speak the whole time because Regina put that curse on her. Well, she comes up with a plan because she has found a secret way to get out of the castle. So if there's a way out, that means that they can go in through there. So they put their trust in Zelena to get them into the castle.
I don't understand these people. Do they learn nothing?
Why would, first of all, why would you even unmute Zelena? And she's better off silent. And then second of all, to question her, and even Regina was like, she hasn't screwed us over yet. And I was like, yeah, we saw that coming. Fools.
And
Fasting forward with the Mary Margaret thing. Mary Margaret, are you, for lack of better words, are you crazy? Have you
really
gone
think
crazy?
that Zelena's crying over here in pain, or that it's going to be a distraction, which was one of your original plans on how to get to King Arthur, was to create a diversion, which Zelena is doing here so that she can then kick you and knock you out.
I can't even deal with this moment. Like, was there 1 second in either of your souls where you were like, oh, maybe Zelena's gone good? Nothing.
No.
Not a moment. So come on, Mary Margaret. I know you're the goodiest goody two-shoes ever, but come on.
Yeah,
Learn your lesson.
But see, that wasn't even the biggest thing that bothered me about this group of people's storyline this episode, because Zelena knocks out Mary Margaret, takes her into the round table room where everyone has come in. We have the sword sitting on the table and Arthur standing there frozen because Regina has frozen him. In walks Zelena, and Robin Hood says, don't do anything because of the baby. But couldn't Regina still have poofed the sword over to her and then poofed them all out of there or
just
something?
poofed Mary Margaret to her.
Yeah, or just get the sword and don't let Zelena put a whole spell on it while everyone's just standing there looking dumb.
This is what I'm saying about how much time it takes for things to happen.
They all stood there and didn't even fight to try and stop her.
Nothing.
And I know she had Mary Margaret, but she wasn't going to be able to do the curse and kill Mary Margaret all at the same time.
And this is what I said at the beginning of the episode. Frustrating.
Yeah, that
so
was
many
frustrating
situations
for
that
me.
were just straight up frustrating.
Yeah, so of course Zelena's working with Arthur, and of course she now has tethered the remnants of Excalibur to Merlin.
And P.S. now she doesn't have her frickin' bracelet on.
Yeah, the bracelet's off too.
Gosh.
So she can do all this magic, and then we have Merlin, who's now going to be controlled by Arthur, who Arthur has been trying to kill Merlin for the longest time.
Yeah. Frustration grows.
Sorry, that was just the exhale of frustration right there. But Merlin does try to talk some sense into Arthur. Arthur is crazy mad and not hearing anything.
By the way, Emma's just chilling on her hike by herself, and it's just like those frickin' commercials. What are those, Geico, or what commercials?
No, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And then
Oh my
poof.
goodness.
That's literally what happened. Like,
She's
Emma was a
probably
real
just
life State Farm commercial.
Creating
by real
dream
life.
catchers right now.
Okay.
Speaking of which, Tracy M in the live chat says dream catcher making to Emma was like spinning to Rumple.
Oh.
Very
That's
true.
That's very true. I hadn't put that together.
It's cathartic.
There's an artsy side to these dark ones.
She can have a showcase, an art show.
Yeah.
In the middle of Storybrooke, like, hey guys, come look at my art show. It's all these dream catchers that have your memories in them that you don't know I stole.
Got it. I'd go. You know
Hey,
it.
you'd go because you want one for your bed. But Arthur has a real conversation with Merlin, and Merlin's kind of yelling at him, you're a disappointment. You're not the guy who I thought you were going to be. It's partially my fault. I wanted to be there for you like a father.
But I was in a tree, so it wasn't really my fault.
And Arthur just is holding all this resentment. It's like, dude, he was in a tree. How is he supposed to help guide you into this thing? And Merlin saying, we have the ingredients right now to make the prophecy come true about you. Give me the sword. Let's reunite them. You will take away the darkness in this kingdom. But Arthur's just so crazy, he's not hearing anything.
And I think that the problem with Arthur is that he didn't have proper guidance. I mean, because granted, Merlin was stuck in a tree, so he lost all that time to properly guide Arthur along the ways and choose the right path and whatnot. And Merlin somehow just got lost. And no one was there to guide him.
And not Merlin got lost, and Arthur got lost.
Not Merlin.
Yeah.
Arthur, all these names. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I think that's really accurate. As much as I do think he is a butthead, I kind of feel bad for him sometimes because he's just so lost, clearly.
He's got almost like a child complex.
Right.
He's a grown man, but he's also still a child in many ways.
Well, also, when we saw the flashbacks of Arthur when he was a kid, he was picked on. So he has this problem with trying to, the superiority problem. That he has this godlike complex that he wants to rule everybody in power. So I think it's just his way of compensating for that.
Yeah, well, it's not going to work for him in the long run. I'm just calling that right now. So
I agree.
That's kind of where we ended things in the Camelot space of this episode, and then we get some glimpses into Storybrooke presently, where we know last week that Emma got Mr. Gold to pull out the Excalibur. And now she's going to reunite them. And for this moment, all of the Dark Ones from the past decide, hey, I got to see this in person. This is going to be great. So all those voices in her head are all standing around. That's hundreds of voices now going on. She's got to be feeling crazy.
I didn't realize how many Dark Ones were actually going to be there, or how many Dark Ones there actually were. This was the creepiest moment, and I think that all three of us couldn't help but kind of giggle. Like with the cat eyes or whatever was going on. It was like, what?
And what were they chanting? I forget what they were chanting. But it was
do
almost...
it, or like something like that. Like, do it.
Yeah, but even that was creepy in a lot of ways. I felt like I was at a witch hunt or something.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, even the flashback we got earlier in the episode, it said 1,000 years before Arthur. So maybe the Dark One storyline has happened for 1,000 years. So how many generations of the Dark Ones have we had within that time period?
Yeah, and
a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And then there was the whole Nimue, like, we're proud of you thing. It's like a cult.
Yeah, but
it's scary.
But Nimue does say that, because Emma says to her, you didn't even want me to do this back in Camelot. And she said that was because there was a chance that you'd use it to destroy the darkness, but now I see differently. But then after their merge and the sword is kind of floating up there, Emma flashes back in her head to Merlin warning her as a child not to do this. And in that moment, I was like, okay, there's more proof that Emma still has that conscience and isn't fully gone off the deep end with this darkness stuff. But then she grabs it. So.
Which was interesting. I was like, why are they showing us that she's thinking about Merlin and then grabs it anyway? That was a tough moment.
That was a tough moment. But it also just is a little glimmer of the hope that maybe she can still fight it. Because she didn't have Merlin there this time telling her, don't do it, don't do it. She just had 100 voices telling her to do it instead.
I think it's interesting how they showed this good side of Emma right before she made a bad, evil choice. Again, being presented all these opportunities, what do you choose, the good or the light? Or the good or the bad? And she chose bad again. So do you think it's all these bad, dark actions, it's like it's for a greater good? Through bad, evil means, so do the end justify the means?
There was that one Merlin quote that was like, even if you aren't a bad person, if you do bad things, it's going to turn out bad. It was more eloquently phrased, but something along those lines. So, I don't know. I take everything he says very seriously, and I think that there's only so far she'll be able to go into the darkness before she can turn around. So even if she's got good intentions, and even if she plans on using it for good, it doesn't necessarily mean she'll be able to.
Two wrongs don't make it right.
Right.
That's very true. And working for evilness just hasn't panned out well for the people in the past. So, I don't know, Emma. I'm scared for you.
Me too.
Hopefully it works out, though.
Oof.
Do you guys have anything else from this episode that you want to touch on?
Nope.
No.
I love Regina's one line, oh, hell no, to Zelena when Zelena betrayed all of them.
That was good.
Yep, we saw that coming.
It's like, of course. All right, then I think Marisa has some shout-outs that she wanted to do.
I do. We got a nice review on iTunes.
Oh, awesome.
Sid Ratul on iTunes. Thank you, everyone, for rating and commenting, subscribing on iTunes, and everywhere AfterBuzz is available. They gave us 5 stars and said, I adore Marissa and Tiona's enthusiasm about the show. You guys get just as excited about it as I do. I listen to you guys the day after it airs, and you give me insight that I wouldn't have thought of watching the show. I listen to you guys before and after work, and you actually make my bus rides that more enjoyable or tolerable.
And then there's 2 emojis. There's a smiley and a heart.
Oh, thank you.
So sweet.
That's awesome. Thanks everyone who comments and leaves us comments on YouTube and iTunes and all that stuff. We read all of them. You guys are so smart. And Brilliant. I read comments and I'm like, how did I not even think of that? You guys inspire me to be better on this show. So thank you for the love. And we do try and comment back as often as possible. And I know it makes my day when I read the nice comments that you guys leave for us.
Love it.
Love it. Let's get into a little news and gossip.
AFTERBUZZ TV News.
Okay, so everyone knows that in the spring, it's going to be Once Upon a Time's 100th episode in early March, and they are releasing names of former people from the cast who will be back and featured in this episode. And this week we learned that Emma Caulfield will be back playing the Blind Witch.
Yes! She's amazing!
Giancarlo Esposito, I always say his first name wrong, he'll be back as the Magic Mirror.
Nice.
I love Magic Mirror.
Barbara Hershey's gonna be back as Cora.
I love her so much.
And my absolute favorite, Robbie Kay's coming back as Peter Pan, y'all.
Obsessed.
Obsessed with that
Probably
news.
the only reason that I'm over on Heroes right now.
Yeah, he is the reason
yeah.
I'm watching Heroes right now.
I do the Heroes after show. Yes.
So, very exciting stuff. The 100th episode should be huge. They haven't said if it's going to be 2 hours or not. I feel like with this many people coming back already, I don't want it to be rushed. I want them to take their time, so I wouldn't mind a 2-hour episode to get to the nitty-gritty of it.
I love the 2-hour episode. Speaking of which, if you guys didn't know, there is a 2-hour episode next week, and we will be covering both hours of it here on AfterBuzz TV. But yeah, I would like for the 100th, they got to do something big, and probably needs a little more time.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm
just thinking.
Marissa looked like she had more to say.
I'm thinking of Cora and Emma
no.
Caulfield, and like it's all evil characters if you guys think about it. So why are they bringing back villains? What's going down?
What's going down in Storybrooke? All right, well, let's get into some predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I think that Marissa should start with predictions.
Okay. Well, I was kind of figuring it out while I was talking about that sword, the Excalibur, and the dagger when you put it together. Because Nimue is tied to it, you can also destroy Nimue. And, or one of the other properties of you just using the sword is to take out the evil. It's like snuff the darkness completely out of it, leave the good still there. So I think it can literally strip all the dark power.
I think that it's a good prediction. I think that mine, piggybacking on that a little bit, in order to destroy the darkness, you're also going to have to destroy part of the light. So if we do destroy Nimue and the Dark One, I think that Merlin's also going to have to die, because I don't think we can destroy Excalibur without destroying both parts.
And I also think we're going to Underworld. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have 2 predictions. My first prediction is that Emma and Merlin in current Storybrooke, they are still working together in some way, because we know that Merlin likes to work somewhat in secrecy and not telling everyone the full plan, like how he took the dagger from everyone without them knowing to go on Emma's quest tonight. Mm-hmm. So I think that they're still working together in some way, and Emma will come out of this. My other prediction is that in destroying the darkness, you kind of open this door of like the underworld of sort of darkness, and that's how these other characters end up coming back, because some of them, I mean, Cora's been dead, Peter Pan's dead, the Blind Witch, I believe, is dead too.
She got fried in that oven.
If we're bringing back evil characters, I feel it's going to be tie into how we're destroying darkness and maybe the other side, in loose terms.
Or we'll see their spirits in Underworld.
Yes, or they'll just be down there burning, waiting for us.
Yeah, and also we got the whole line that someone good, maybe potentially someone good, can also wield the sword. So who is good enough that won't be swayed by darkness that can wield the sword?
I'm going to say Belle. She needs something to do.
Yeah, I loved when we gave her something to do the other week.
And she's
Henry.
underrated.
Or Henry.
Or Henry.
Or maybe now Rumple.
Maybe Rumple. But I feel like he'd be too easy to sway back to darkness, which is really sad.
Yeah.
But I think Henry, he's been tested. Granted, he's young. He's been tested in a lot of dark situations. I think if he grows up and grows into like a grown-up man that can handle all the magic and whatnot, he'd make the right choices and you wield that sword for good, not darkness.
I like this. Well, make sure you guys at home let us know what your predictions are for the episode this week. Where can they follow you guys on the interwebs?
You guys can find me everywhere at Roxy Striar.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Serafini TV.
And make sure you guys check out all the shows that AfterBuzz TV provides for you free of charge on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube, all under the moniker of AfterBuzz TV. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at the Tiona Hobson. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. And we will be back next week with a 2-hour special episode of Once Upon a Time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.